This is a Dude Studios production. And hey, I'm the dude.
Hey bartender, pass me a drink. The reason that I'm here is I need time to think.
Greetings, salutations, what's happening, people? This is Hey Bartender Podcast. I'm your bartender. I'm the dude, so that's what you call me. Or if you've gotten to know me pretty well, you can call me Anthony. I'm cool with that. So, how is everybody doing? You know what? This is a very big milestone episode for me, people. This is the official 100th episode of Hey Bartender Podcast. And I started this back in February of 2018, just as something, because I wanted to do a podcast. I just really wanted to do something. And I sat back and tried to think, what do I want to do for, a podcast? Because I really wanted to get into it. And the only thing that popped into mind that I know about, that I'm passionate about, is talking about my time as a bartender. And then the idea coming up of bringing other bartenders, my old friends, coworkers, and bartenders from all over the United States to come on and also talk about their time on the podcast. And for the last 2 years, it has worked out pretty well. I've enjoyed the time that I've been doing this. I appreciate all my listeners, and the guests that I've had on this show are awesome. I've also taken the time to get to know some new music out there. Some bands have been around for quite some time, and I'm been more than happy and on the most part thrilled that I've been able to get their names out there. Granted, this isn't a huge podcast. I mean, I'm no Joe Rogan, but at least I'm trying to help them get their music out there, get their sound out there to other places where they normally wouldn't be found. So, thank you to all you listeners for following me for this long. And hopefully we can keep this show going for as long as possible and get more guests on, play some more music, have some fun. That's how it goes. But as usual with all 99 episodes up until this episode, I got to start off with the drink special for you guys. So this week's drink special, I swiped off Instagram from Basement Bartender. He's based out of Vancouver, British Columbia. This drink that he posted on Instagram that I decided to swipe is called the Funky Old Fashioned. Now, what you need for the Funky Old Fashioned is 2 ounces of Smith & Cross Jamaican rum, 2 dashes of Apothecary Cherry Cedar Bitters, squirt of organic cane simple syrup. Build that all into a rocks glass with ice, garnish with raspberries. Now, that is a different take on the old fashioned. Usually it's whiskey, but it sounds like it would be a lot of fun. I like the picture that he put on there because the big ice cube ball that he has inside the rocks glass has a skull and crossbones. I'll have a picture of it on the website, heybartenderpodcast.com. Great presentation there, Basement Bartender. Basement Bartender has tons of drinks. If you want to go check him out, follow him on Instagram. He's at basement_bartender. Basement_bartender. Like I said, he's based out of Vancouver, British Columbia, and he's always got some great drinks posted on there, and great presentation. The photography is great. So thank you, whether you know it or not, Basement Bartender, for allowing me to steal your drink off of public social media. And remember, if you guys go out there and try it out, let him know, basement_bartender on Instagram, or you can let me know, dude at heybartenderpodcast.com, and it will, tell everybody how the drink is for some of the people that aren't really adventurous when it comes to trying a drink they've never tried before, because that's what the point of this show was, is for me to bring up some drinks that some of you might not know how to make, so you can present it to your customers or try it yourself. Just all depends on where you're at right now. Okay, now, people, on with the show. I spent a lot of time racking my brain since probably episode 95. I was sitting back thinking, okay, I'm coming up on 100 episodes. I got to do something special for these people that are taking the time to listen to my show. And I tried to contact a whole bunch of people, celebrities, distributors, and came up kind of short. Uh, Everybody's going back to work because the quarantine's lifting, releasing this reins on us a little bit right now. So, I'm happy everybody's getting back to work, but I really couldn't find anything really special to do for you guys. But the best that I could come up with was I sat back and I started thinking about old 80s sitcoms. And I started thinking, well, whenever sitcoms or any television show back in the 80s was low on budget and ran out of ideas, what did they do? Oh, clip show. So we're going to take a look back in the last 100 episodes at some of my favorite interviews that I had on the show, and just bring some of you guys who haven't been with the show that long back up to speed, or maybe give a couple of you guys a good reminder. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a couple shout outs in this episode. People on Instagram that are following me and show me love quite a bit, actually. First person I'm going to thank is underscore JOAR underscore. I don't know if he calls himself Jor or what, but thank you, Jor, or underscore JOAR. Thanks for following me. Thanks for appreciating the posts that I put up on Instagram. If you want to check out his stuff, he's got some groovy stuff on his Instagram page. Go check him out. It's at underscore JOAR underscore, I think is how it is. Sorry if I butchered that. First interview clip that I'm going to replay for you guys is the very first interview I ever had for this show. And of course, when you have a show like this and you've got friends who are also in the same industry, you got to hit them up first if you want to do an interview show. So one night, this is how it happened. My friend Shannon Moore, she gave me a call. It was just to check up on me. We hadn't talked together in a long time. And we started talking about bartending stories, and I was maybe 7 or 8 episodes into doing the podcast. And as we're telling stories, all of a sudden I yelled, "Wait! Okay, let me get the recording equipment out because this stuff is golden." So, thank you, Shannon, for letting me rope you into doing this. This particular clip was a clip that I kind of enjoyed just because she was basically schooling me on my attitude towards people and my customer service. Check this out. You had this air about you where you liked everybody liked you, but it was kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. People, I wasn't sure whether I was trying to get people to like me or I was making them try to, get along with me. My patience and my personality kind of conflicted with being a bartender in the really early days when you and I were working together. But you taught me a lot about when it comes to customer service, and actually I'm positive that you put in a good word for me a lot of the times with some of the customers that, well, what's wrong with that guy?
Well, you're very dry, okay?
Yeah.
You're always very dry. And you had people that absolutely loved that about you.
Yeah.
And you had people that didn't get you, okay? And so I might have to go and explain that's just his sarcasm. That's his dryness. He's just like, that's a certain way that that's his style. That's your style. That's your style that you do.
And thank you very much for sticking up for me a lot.
No, because there was no reason not to, because I knew what your style was. And some people got you and some people didn't, and some people, were like, what's his deal? And I was like, he's just got a really dry personality. And he's he has a dry humor, and you just have to get that, or you don't. It's up to you.
I remember.
Super nice guy and super great guy, or whatever.
I remember a handful of customers saying
we
that.
talked about it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
1,000 times. You would get hit on 1,000 times. You didn't even know it. Somebody would have to get a bat out and hit you in the head or something.
Oh yeah, I was really bad about that. Still am, and to this day.
You're horrible. You're still horrible, I believe. But my thing is, for one thing, consistency. I find is the most important thing. I stay consistent with everyone. I don't care how they treat me. I will gonna stay the same person that I am. I will stay. You're not a nice person, and I know this. But I am gonna be even working harder on you because you're very challenging. I love challenging people.
I noticed that about you, yeah.
I love an asshole. Okay, bring me an asshole. I will take the asshole. I will take the asshole because it makes it fun for me.
Mm-mm.
The nice people are easy. You can do nice people. Anybody can do nice people. Not anyone can do an asshole. I can do the best asshole ever.
Phrasing. But, sorry.
No, I can be like, I will take care of them so nicely.
Janet had never watched Archer before, so she didn't understand when I said phrasing when she said she can take care of an asshole or give her an asshole. It was just hilarious for me the way she was talking about it, but she was actually right. She saw people that were just complete jerks, assholes, dicks, whatever you want to call them, and saw them as a challenge, and for some reason, just thought all of a sudden, I'm going to make them my friend. And her success rate was damn close to 100%, if not 100%. She was, a veteran in the bartending industry, so she had a lot of time to practice and build up her skill. And it was amazing working with her, and I learned quite a bit. Although my personality really never changed, and I'm still clueless around women. So what are you going to do? Moving on, next Instagram follower that's been pretty faithfully following me and showing me their approval on my Instagram page is Sambo Price, Samboprice. He has been a strong supporter of Hey Bartender Podcast, at least on the Instagram page, far back as I can remember since starting that page. So thank you so much for following me on Instagram. Hope you're listening to Hey Bartender Podcast. If you want to go check him out, well, his account is private, so I'm not sure if you'll be able to see anything. But join his follower group. It's at Sambo Price, Samboprice. Next clip I'm going to share with you guys again is a clip from my interview with Mia Torres. Mia Torres is works for Variety Magazine. She has her own blog. She has, from what I can tell from her Twitter and her Instagram, she has a lot of things on the horizon when it comes to food, drinks, and traveling. She's a very busy woman, and the cool thing about her was she actually reached out to me back when I was a fledgling podcast, barely knew what I was doing, as if I know what I'm doing now. And she wanted to be on my show, and I was just like, absolutely, get over here. And before I talked to her, of course, I had to do research on my guests, so I knew a little bit about them, to ask specific questions. And I decided to ask her about her blog, and she had some very interesting wine pairings. She does a lot of wine pairings on her blog. And this was a clip from that. Check it out. So you could say that friend of yours influenced you to take on this part of your career.
Yes.
And everything's going well for you, and you're doing a lot of writing right now?
Absolutely, yes. For Variety Magazine right now, they're the only ones I'm working for. But I also have my own blog, Table for One.
Oh, tell us about that.
And yes, that's my own blog. And what I usually do on there is restaurant reviews, pairings, mostly a lot of pairings and restaurant reviews, but you can catch a random blog about nightlife or two on there. And it's been a while since I've updated it. I haven't had the chance to pay attention to it lately, but I'm on it. I'm getting back into it again, so there'll be updates on that soon. And the last one I did was French fries paired with wine.
Yeah, I saw that. That caught my attention really quickly. Because, you and I have been messaging back and forth trying to arrange this interview. And I told you that pretty much my familiarity with wine is just the basics that you see in every bar. You got your Pinot, you got your Merlot, White Zin, Chardonnay, and Cabernet. Yeah, that's just it. And we don't have, or all the bars that I've worked at don't have anything specific or a year or really just beyond that. So what is like your ideal beginner's guide to like wine pairing?
I would say taste as much as you can, because it's not going to depend. It's not going to depend on what you like until you taste it.
Then you can decide from there what this would go with. Would it go good with a steak, or would it go good with seafood?
No, that comes with knowledge later. But for now, you're going to have to establish what you like to taste. Like, I can't stand Chianti. I don't know what it is about Chianti. I can't stand it, so I don't go near it. But
well, nobody's been able to talk about Chianti without thinking of Silence of the Lambs for a long time. So.
Yes. I think of that too still. But I can't do it. I don't know what it is. It's too spicy to me. Like, it leaves that nasty, spicy aftertaste, and it's supposed to be a pretty good brand. But Merlot is my favorite. And when I first got into wine, I was in Vegas, and I had the privilege as a writer of going to all these high-end restaurants because I had to write about them. And I tried every wine that I could, every single restaurant I went to, and there was a lot of them over there that I had to go to, and I would make it a point to try a new wine every single time. And this is before I began the education part of it.
Sure.
And this is how I got into it. So now I know for a fact that I love Merlot. That's my number one go-to. And then I know right after that would be Pinot Grigio, and so on and so on. So my advice would be is to just taste. Keep tasting. Just pick one and taste it. And then later, if you like it, will come the knowledge.
See,
you can learn more about it. It's easier because there's so much to learn about wine. One cannot possibly... You think you know everything 1 minute, and maybe you do, and then there's more, way more after that to learn. So it's endless.
Yeah,
that's what makes it so hard and so amazing. That's why there are so few masters in the world.
Exactly.
Which is what I'm trying to achieve.
Well,
the Master of Wine title.
Well, good luck. Good luck with that, and totally support you on that.
Thank you.
But do you also do like tours of wineries and stuff like that when acquiring this knowledge?
You can do that. I've done a few over here in Virginia, and I learned even more from tastings. Yep, you could do tastings too. That's a lot easier and probably a lot cheaper than going to restaurants. But you could do that too. A lot easier. And they'll tell you also you're having a Zin, and this is what it's paired with. That's paired with shellfish or tuna or whatever. And they give you charts and things to write down. So, yeah, that's easy too.
In a way, I felt kind of bad for Mia when I had her on the show because I really didn't have any idea how to talk to a wine connoisseur or expert. And I was trying to integrate it into the show, and plus this was my first interview where I absolutely had no idea about the person that I was talking to. Like I said, she approached me, and I got excited. I was like, somebody actually wants to be on my podcast. This is awesome. So, and I tried to sound as intelligent as possible when it came to food and wine, but I think it kind of showed through that I was kind of fumbling around like an idiot. But definitely go check out her blog, Table for One, because like I said in that clip, she had some really interesting wine pairing that I hadn't seen ever before. I mean, she even has a wine pairing with raw ginger. I was like, no, it was pickled ginger, and I was like, what, really? And I've never heard of anybody doing a wine pairing with French fries before. It was very unique, and she was really fun to talk to. Um, so thank you so much, Mia, for approaching me and for being on the show. It was definitely an honor. Next Instagram follower that I want to spotlight and thank for following me. I just went back in my Instagram page and went all the way to the very first thing that I ever posted and found this guy, Tales of the Weird. This guy has been following me since obviously the very beginning. Either that or he went to the very beginning and started liking everything all the way up to wherever I was at in this podcast. But either way, he took the time to go all the way back to the beginning. So thank you, Tales of the Weird. Tales of the Weird is a freelance journalist, never dull, true believer in humanity despite humanity. He will run into a burning building to help and have the scars to prove it, according to his Instagram page. So thank you, Tales of the Weird, for following me. And if any of you are curious about Tales of the Weird and want to follow him, jump on Instagram at Tales of the Weird and check out some of the stuff he's got, because he's got some pretty good stuff on his page too. My next clip comes from Austin McGee and Gary Carl of the podcast Midwest Mics. These guys also approached me to be on the podcast, and I was ultra excited about that. But when I was doing the research with them, on them so I could ask them appropriate questions, I all of a sudden became very intimidated because I didn't know shit. Still don't know shit about sports. And this is a very, very much a sports podcast in the Kansas City area. And so I didn't know what the hell I'm going to do. And that's kind of one of the tricks for bartenders. You kind of have to adapt your personality to the customer that you have, because in my case, not everybody likes the Beatles. Not everybody watches Big Trouble in Little China or appreciates the fine acting quality of Bruce Campbell. It's, not everybody thinks like I do. So, but when I talked to these guys, they were totally cool. They both had their input on being in the restaurant business. I think it was Austin that was actually in the restaurant business and did the podcasting on the side. And they turned out really cool to talk to. This next clip is about when they go into sports bars and, what it's like. So check this one out. I just had a thought. You guys have made your mark in the Kansas City area for having a sports podcast. Now, working in the restaurant industry, the bars that I worked at weren't full-fledged sports bars, but everybody loved to come in there and watch and root on their favorite team. Like, I had one guy who was a diehard Hoosiers fan, and insisted that the TVs be turned to a Hoosiers game when the Portland Trailblazers were playing, and everybody else in the bar was there to watch the Portland Trailblazers. Now, when you guys were working in the restaurant industry, did you ever run into issues like that when it came to sports, like the diehard fans getting a little overexcited?
I'll turn this one over to Gary. The restaurants I worked at typically didn't have a lot of TVs in it. And the TVs that we had at the restaurant I was managing just recently were Kansas City, everybody's Chiefs, so it's all good. But Gary worked at the Applebee's where they have multiple TVs, so I'll let Gary handle that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Your regulars, you're pretty much going to take care of, make sure they can see the game they want to see. If there's a random game, sometimes you use the trick, or at least I've seen it used it back in my serving days. Hey, let me go check with my manager on that and see what I can do.
Yeah.
And, you come back and, my manager I told them you wanted to watch this game, and they said no. So that's all I can do. But I tried for you.
Yeah, I've done that line many, many times.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. I mean, anybody who's worked in a restaurant or that's not the boss, they've probably used that line a time or two. Just, hey, sorry, I tried, especially in the service industry because, you're working for those tips. So you're like, hey, I'm on your side here. I told my manager, and for whatever reason, he doesn't want that game on.
Yeah, I could have told the guy that, well, hey, he got beat up by one of the guys from Indiana, and he refuses to play the Hoosiers. Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's creative. That's creative right there.
Yeah.
Now, also, great sports moments in a bar. I've worked during many Super Bowls. I told you I was a bartender for 7 years, so I've worked in a bar for at least 7 Super Bowls and a few World Series. But the biggest sports memory that I can remember working as a bartender was in 2003 when the Cubs were playing the Marlins in the playoffs. And the famous story of Steve Bartman reaching out, catching that fly ball. You guys remember that at all?
Yes. I actually was living in Des Moines, Iowa at the time, and they have the AAA baseball team for the Cubs. So a lot of people are Cub fans in Des Moines. And so the Bartman incident that you're talking about, I totally remember.
I remember sitting there watching it and seeing how pissed off the left fielder was and watching their game go completely to crap right after that. I mean, the shortstop missing a hot grounder just went right by him. And my customers that night laughed their ass off because none of them were really Cubs fans. Actually, most of my customers, their teams were already out of the running for the World Series, so they didn't really care who won, the Cubs or the Marlins. I remember them all laughing their asses off at that night. Do you, either of you have any big sports memories that happen to be, well, whether you were a customer or when you were working in a bar?
Yeah, for me, the biggest sports memory I have at a bar is when the Royals won the World Series a couple years ago. I in 2015, right? Or 16? 15. I was at a bar we used to attend. We don't go there as much because of the service, which, maybe we'll get into that later. But I remember it was back when we went all the time, and I was with one of our good friends, Bryant. He was up from Texas to watch the Royals, and they won the World Series, and we were there, and they threw confetti on everybody and had drink specials to celebrate and all that fun stuff.
Well, that's a cool memory, yeah.
I think, my memory actually also goes around the Royals. It's not World Series, though. So I'm actually working. I'm working at the time at a restaurant. We got 2 TVs. It's on the Royals playoff game. It's kind of a day game. It's afternoon. We're really slow. It's the playoffs, divisional playoffs. Royals are playing against Houston, and they're actually down in the series. They're actually down in the series 2-0. It's a best-of-5 series. So you got to win 3 games. They're down in the series 2-0, and they're losing this third game. I think they're down in the series 2-0. Anyways, it was an elimination game for the Royals. Maybe 2-1. Either way, they're down in the game like 6-0, 5-0, something like that.
Yeah.
Late. And so me and another manager are sitting there we're talking about next year. Like, hey, free agency, we got to do this, got to do that. We'll see. I don't know. This kind of sucks, whatever. And all of a sudden, the Royals come back. They start coming back, and we're freaking out. I'm freaking out about this. They come back and they win that game, and then later on they end up beating Houston, beating Toronto, and end up winning the World Series. But I remember that specifically because I was totally counting them out, and they came back and won. I was more freaked out about that than almost any other game they played, because the World Series they won against the Mets, they dominated that series, right?
Right.
Yeah. The Houston series was Houston won the World Series.
Tough. It was crazy.
And I think Houston won the World Series the next year.
Yeah.
Houston was the team that was going to be basically coming up. So yeah, that game I
remember that too. I just wasn't in a bar.
It's crazy.
Or a restaurant.
I counted them out, and they came back and won. It's ridiculous. Now my new memory will be next year When the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, that'll be my new memory.
Whoa. Early prediction.
Yeah.
It'll happen. That's it.
Anybody out there has ever listened to our show, I mean, especially here in the last 6-8 months, there's two things you're going to hear every week. Austin's going to say that the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl.
And they will.
I don't know about that. I have not made my prediction yet. He's made his known very early. But the other thing you're going to hear is hashtag fire Jason Garrett. Because I am a Cowboys fan, especially if anybody living in Texas, tweet me at Midwest Mikes. Let me know how much you either hate or love the Cowboys. But I am a hashtag fire Jason Garrett all day, every day. And I make sure to work it in every week on the show.
See, these guys were really, really awesome to talk to because they made me feel totally comfortable in not being a sports fanatic. And the conversation went a lot smoother than I anticipated it was going to be because we both met at a certain point. And yes, I did have liner notes on the side. I didn't remember the name of the guy in the Cubs game right off the top of my head. But I remembered the moment and remembered watching that Super Bowl. The thing about it was when they started talking about changing the Cowboys coach, and they actually fired Jason Garrett. The first thing I did as soon as I found out they fired Jason Garrett was I emailed the guys and said, "Did I hear a yell or a Yahoo or something like that now that Jason Garrett's been fired?" And they just sent me a message back saying, you might have. And that was just hilarious. But we'll still have to wait and see how if the COVID-19 allows the football teams to go back into the stadiums to see how well Kansas City does this year. Then we can hold them to the declaration that Kansas City's going to win the Super Bowl this year. So, next Instagram supporter that I'd like to thank for following Hey Bartender Podcast, and I'm a little biased because she's an old high school friend of mine, is Sugar Cookies and Cakes. Sugar's Cookies and Cakes. I'm going to leave that part in. I'm not going to edit that out. She'll probably get mad at me. But Sugar's Cookies and Cakes is a dog bakery. She actually sells cakes, cupcakes, and treats for dogs. And she does an amazing job. And she's excellent at directing or at decorating to whatever your needs. She's based in Damascus, Oregon. So any of my listeners that are near the Damascus area and you want to get a special treat for your dog's birthday or whatever, go check out Sugar's Cookies. You can find her on Instagram at Sugar's Cookies and Cakes. And once again, Gretchen, thanks for following the show. The next interview that I'm going to feature here on this podcast is a clip from an interview with Cynthia Torres. She was a karaoke DJ that worked freelance karaoke and DJ work at various bars or private events and that sort of thing. And I wanted to bring her on. She's a friend of mine, and I wanted to bring her on because karaoke was a big part of the bars that I worked at for a little while. And I figured karaoke DJs probably have a couple good stories in there. So that's what I made her do. So check out this clip with Cynthia Torres. This was also the first interview that I did, well, first and only interview that I did face-to-face at that point. So you might be able to hear it in my voice that I was a little bit nervous. Check this out. Okay, I want to know some funny karaoke stories.
Oh, God.
Stories like when people, went up, they're drunk off their ass, or the people that are singing a song that had no business singing that song whatsoever.
That happens all the time.
You got to give me some.
Well, I can tell you a funny story about what happened to me when I was in a rush.
Okay.
I had to go to the bathroom really bad, and I went to the bathroom, and the toilet got stuck in my pants. Toilet paper got stuck in my pants. So I walked out of the bathroom with the toilet paper stuck in my pants and started my show again. And everybody was laughing because I didn't even know I had the toilet paper stuck to my pants. But I've had people come up, they were so drunk, bring me slips and come up to me. And I had one guy bring me a slip and he was wearing steel-toed boots and he slammed into my foot. And I just had to scream really loud because he slammed into my foot. Mm-hmm. So, but I've had tons of funny stories.
Give me specifics. I got to know.
Oh, God. Okay.
Something that
of course you'd ask me.
Yeah, one of your customers that actually sticks out in your head that made you laugh or had a humorous effect on your audience.
I think it was not just one person, but several people that did it. We were singing songs, and we were singing. I'm trying to think of the song that we were singing. I can't remember, but it was a group song, and it was. Oh goodness! Anyway, it was a group song, and we were all singing the song, and we were imitating the singers, and that was really cute. That we were imitating the singers, and we were doing the dance and everything, imitating the singers, and people just got a really good laugh at it, and it was real cute.
Well, any particular song, or was it just mix?
It was. I can't remember. It was not. I can't remember the particular song. It was a group song that we were doing. If I could remember the lyrics, I'd sing a little bit of it, but I can't remember the lyrics. But that was real funny because we were imitating the singers.
Yeah.
And it was just cute. It was real cute.
All of a sudden, I'm flashing back to high school when we had to do lip sync contests with the other classes, and one class got it all together and did "We Are the World," and but it was a lip sync, so it didn't matter how they sang. But everybody dressed the part, when Dionne Warwick, Billy Joel, and...
No, we didn't dress the part. We just acted them out. So it was real cute.
Do you remember what you sang?
No, I can't remember what we sang.
Yeah. Or how about, did you ever have any customers where you were embarrassed, where you were kind of touching the volume and kind of turning them down without them knowing?
Oh, I'd mess around with the customers all the time doing that. Really? They'd start singing a song, they'd get all into the song and get all happy about the song and feel like good about themselves. And then I'd stop the music and they'd still be singing the song because they wouldn't be looking at the words because they were so confident about the song, they wouldn't be looking. Mm-hmm. So I'd stop the song and interrupt their song, and then I'd go right back, I'd turn the volume back up on them.
Like there was a time, there was my karaoke DJ, she would purposely turn down this one girl that would, usually drunk, would sing.
So you can't even think of it.
Yeah, it's lost now. I think it was a Joan Jett song, or maybe. But she would be singing it and getting really into it, but way off key. And we're just, plugging our ears in the background, and she's slowly turning the dial down. So
don't you hate that when somebody's singing it too loud or too high?
Yeah.
And they're just totally out blasting the song away?
But sometimes it can be funny. Maybe you have to have a story. Because I had one customer that would come in karaoke night, and his goal constantly was to make people laugh. And so his rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody, even though he wasn't trying to sound anything like Freddie Mercury, it was hilarious to watch him. Because if he wasn't getting the laugh or the intention that he wanted from the song, or him singing the song, he'd go one more step up to see if he could get the attention. One time he even dropped his pants.
Oh, that happened to me once.
Really?
I had this customer, his name's Don, and he's Santa Claus. He looks exactly like Santa Claus, and he plays Santa Claus during Christmas. Mm. And I usually sing happy birthday to people when it's their birthday. Mm. And it was his birthday, and he waited for me to sing happy birthday for him. He put a sausage in his pants. And when I sing happy birthday, I usually grab them and grope on them, and I go, and I do Marilyn Monroe, so happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. And I'll grope them, and I grope down there on his crotch. And sure enough, it was this long thing in his crotch. I was like, oh my God, it scared the bejeebies out of me.
He was prepared.
He was very prepared. And he didn't show it to me until after the song was over.
It's very Spinal Tap, carrying the cucumber. Anyway. Cynthia was a lot of fun to talk to just because she and I had known each other for a little while, and she was the first guest I was able to get on the show that I live somewhat nearby. And so I was kind of comfortable talking with her, kind of nervous about talking with her, and just because of the different setting and that it was an actual interview. But she had a lot of great stories to tell when it came to karaoke, and I remembered all the stories that I used to see, and we talked a lot about on stuff, and she was really cool about bringing up some really good stories and strange and amazing things that she used to do for her customers. So if you want to hear more about that, go back to that episode and check it out because she was really entertaining. Next Instagram follower I want to give a shout out to is Frost Experience. Frost Experience is a North Cal pro wrestler and very intimidating looking. But I don't know, maybe he's a really cool guy, but very big guy. He's been following Hey Bartender Podcast for quite a while, and I appreciate somebody of that caliber following me and keeping up with Hey Bartender Podcast and all the posts that I've been doing. So he travels on the road, making various appearances in various cities, and his motto is, "You miss every shot you don't take." If you want to go check out Frost Experience, find him on Instagram, Frost Experience, and spelled just the way it sounds, and go check him out sometime. This next clip that I'm going to play is from author L.D. Moreau, who is the author of Think Like a Bartender, Recipes for Life. I think she ran across me and she asked me if she could talk about bartending and talk about her book on my show. And of course, I was all for it. Yes, please come on up. But I made the stipulation. Can I have a copy of your book before you come onto the show? And she gave me a early release copy, and I sat down and read it. And it's actually a very brilliant book. Tells a lot of great stories of her life as a bartender and her life in general. You get to learn some interesting cocktails along the way that kind of go along with the story that she talks about. It's an excellent book and very well done. So go out and check out the book, Think Like a Bartender, Recipes for Life, and give it a read because it's very well done and very informative. Here's a clip with me talking with LD Moreau, and I start talking to her about the characters, something that she mentions in her book, and she had some pretty interesting things to say about the various different characters that you might run into that you may not click right away with. Character or personality, kind of like we're standing on, we're a character in a TV show or something like that. Mm-hmm. And one character that I was never able to do was sit there and talk about sports. I don't watch sports. I don't know statistics. I don't know anything. And some of my customers would try to talk about like the New York Yankees because I'm wearing a New York Yankees hat. And but I have to explain to them, I mostly wear this hat because I'm a big Billy Joel fan. And because he played Yankee Stadium one year, but Andy's from New York. But they eventually started to realize, oh, this guy isn't a sports fanatic like most bartenders. If I want to talk to him, I got to talk about music. And then that's when our relationship with the customer usually kind of went to the next level, just because we found a common ground that I could talk with them about because I know nothing about sports. And sports is a big deal in the bar industry. And also it comes along with, I usually warn my customers, okay, if we're going to talk about music, if you mention the Beatles, be prepared for at least a half-hour long lecture because I'm a huge Beatles fan. But
yeah.
But did you take on any kind of personality when you were bartending, or was it pretty much just you, or did you discover your passion for stand-up comedy while being behind the bar?
I think it was a lot of just being me, and I have always been a bit of a chameleon. I was brought up, my grandparents took care of me, and when you have that generation gap, and I was an only child, you kind of have to be very creative, lots of imaginary friends and all that.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to like a bar, I was always a very shy kid, but at the bar, I found that I could just talk to people. And even if I didn't understand what they were saying, it was fine. I mean, case in point, there was this, I'm a sports fan, so I'm okay with most sports. I could talk basketball, football. You're losing me a little bit with baseball, hockey. I get a little cross-eyed. So it's kind of like waivers from there, right?
Yeah.
And someone walked in, and I'm in Texas at the time, I remember. And
so you got to know football.
Yeah, I think it was like the 49ers, San Francisco 49ers, I think. Yeah, and this guy walks in, and he's just ranting and raving about the 49ers. And he was like, did you see that call? Because there's TVs on when we're bartending, right? So they're always like, did you see that? And you're like, I was getting ice. I'm so sorry. But he said, did you see that call? I can't believe that. I just found being honest. I said, I didn't. I said, but I bet you will find football in that cocktail I just made you, because I was focused on that. Ha, ha, ha. I just tried to divert it a bit. But if I didn't know something, I had to actually say, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'd love to know more, because I got caught doing that. Sometimes I would just assume that they would stop talking to me if I agreed. So I'm busy, I'm making drinks, and someone would say something like, oh my God, let's talk about gentrification statistics in the Southeast. And I'm all like, oh, that's crazy. So that was like my default. That's crazy. And it didn't work one day. The person was like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, and I said, honestly, I don't know what you were talking about. I'm sorry. So now, if I don't bartend anymore, but if it were to ever happen again, I'd say, you got me there, but I'd love to hear about it. And then you get them talking, and you can kind of do other things too, So yeah, but I agree with you. You almost want to be their friends. You want to do that, but you got to be careful. That's a slippery slope, because some of them are repeat customers, and they'll come back and they're like, oh, I know you read that article, right? And you're like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. After listening a little bit to that clip, I remembered that L.D. Morose is a former bartender, comedian, and writer, and she was incredibly fun, entertaining to talk to. And her book goes way in depth to a lot of the trials and tribulations that she may have run through life, but how she was able to bring herself out of that by using comedy and writing it down in a book. It's a really interesting book. If you want to find out a little bit more about her, you can go find her Facebook profile, or check out her profile on Instagram, Think Like a Bartender, and you can find out more of about that book and find out a little bit more about her. It's available on Amazon.com right now. Think Like a Bartender: Recipes for Life, and it is a best-selling book. Trust me, it's a good read. Go check it out. Next Instagram follower I'd like to give a shout out to is B Sloper. I guess how you say it, Bsloper. He is, according to his Instagram profile, he's a patriot, vet, father of 2 great kids. I guess he's from Idaho also. Thank you, B Sloper, for supporting the show, liking things as they come up on Instagram, leaving an occasional comment. Once again, you guys are the ones that help me keep doing this show. So thank you so much. If any of you are curious about him, he's got a bunch of personal pictures and a few things that support veterans everywhere. So go check him out. That's BSLOPER on Instagram. Since we're coming up close to the end of this podcast time, I've got one more guest that I want to bring on here, bring a special clip up for, by the name of Randy Lynn Lambert. Now, she was voted 2019's Bartender of the Year. When I saw that go across the social media pages, she announced it on, I think it was the Fraternal Order of Bartenders Facebook page. And I said, well, that's somebody that needs to be on my show. I got to get her on my show. And she was very cool. I thought it was going to be a lot harder to get her on the show, but she was so cool. She was like, absolutely, I'd love to be on your show. And she is not only 2019 Santa Fe, New Mexico's Bartender of the Year, she's also she monitors social media for various companies. She's also an actress, model. She does a lot of things. And I wanted to talk to her a lot about that, because a lot of bartenders or servers anywhere in the country use the food service industry as a way to make ends meet while they work on another passion, like whether they want to be an artist or whether they're just going to school to get their degree. And I just wanted to have her on to talk about getting her award and talk about her passion for acting and all of that stuff. And so here's a quick clip from my interview with Randy Lynn Lambert. So you said you're an actress. What have you done anything, or tell us about some of the stuff that you've done?
Yeah, Longmire. That's the show that films here. That just came back to
Okay.
me. Sorry. That's like a pretty popular show, and I could not think of it. Sorry for just shouting at you.
It's all right. It's all right.
It was rather that or at 3 a.m. I was going to wake up like, Longmire. But, nothing that you would have seen, unfortunately, yet. That will change soon, hopefully. But I've been an extra in some cool projects. Like I was an extra at Independence Day 2. I've been an extra on Roswell. I've been an extra on a show called Perpetual Grace that's coming out soon. So I do a lot of background stuff right now. I've helped out with some student films at UNM, the University of New Mexico. And so I just recently got started, like trying to get back into, actually getting speaking roles. So hopefully here soon that will change and you will be able to see me in something.
Okay, that's a note to anybody who may be listening. If you're working on a film project or something like that,
yes.
Randy Lynn, she's available.
I'm available. I've got lots of free time. Book me.
Now, I've heard of tons of celebrities that were bartenders or servers before they became famous.
Step.
Yeah, and so it was just a way to make ends meet while they work on whatever it is they're working towards. So that's awesome that you're getting acting jobs and still bartending at the same time.
Yeah, it's great. I've worked at Cowgirl for 5 years, and which says something, like it's such a great place to work. So
Sure.
I've kind of got to make my schedule what I want it to be. And so I really get, if I get an opportunity to do something, I'm lucky to have bosses that are really willing to work with that.
That's another key thing, to have a boss that understands that you have a goal in your life and will let you.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most bosses are like, I got nobody to cover your shifts. So you're going to have to come in or I'll write you up.
Yeah.
So
like, I know you're in the hospital, but we're like really short staffed.
Oh, believe me, I've heard that before. So let's, it was just a big family emergency that happened. And I told my boss, look, I got to leave town. And they said, well, we've got nobody to cover for you. And I said, well, figure it out, 'cause I'm not coming.
Should I look? Yeah. Sorry.
Good for your bosses for being understanding.
Yeah, they're cool. I probably wouldn't be there if I didn't have the boss that I do. She's great.
Now,
and the owners are awesome, so helps out.
Now, along with being the best bartender in Santa Fe 2019, and being an actress, I'm going to plug you on that dozens of times.
Thank you. I love it.
Along with being an actress, you were also, from what I could tell, have a strong social media presence. Manager of multiple Facebook pages advertising various places. And tell us, where do you find time for all of this?
I know. It's like my other side hustle passion project. So I do social media management, and I started doing it for the bar I work at now, the Cowgirl, about 2 years ago. And I really took to it. I really enjoy it. It's fun making content and sharing that and seeing your page grow and then seeing how it affects business, in a positive way. And then I also bartend up at Ski Santa Fe, the bar Totem Off. So I do that part-time in the winter as well. And I ended up breaking my foot up there.
How'd you do that?
Being clumsy, not skiing or anything.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately. I wish I had a cool story, but I don't. I just tripped.
We'll just let it go.
So, yeah, right. Yeah, I was laid up and I was like, what am I supposed to be doing for money? And I realized, wait, I'm really good at doing social media and I enjoy it. That's a huge part of it. I enjoy doing it. And so I started branching out and reaching out to other small businesses and seeing if they needed help. And so I got in touch with this company called Seamless Skin. They're a medical spa here in town, and they're so great. It's owned and operated by just this badass lady, Deborah Woods. And I'm really passionate about skincare and just self-care in general.
Sure.
So working with them came super naturally, and I help out with a salon in town, and I had a couple more clients and that just needed help temporarily. And then, so I just I do that and then I bartend and hopefully get some acting jobs and try to maintain a social life. And
now working with Seamless Skin, have you tried to talk them into how bartenders can battle bar rot?
No, I haven't yet, but I have a meeting with them tomorrow. Maybe I should bring it up.
I don't know if it'd be all that interesting. They'd probably just look at you with their eyes crossed, say, "Wear rubber gloves."
Right. No, they're pretty great. Maybe they'll have some ideas.
Randy Lynn was a lot of fun to talk to, and genuine multitasker. If you ever saw one, I mean, she has multiple passions in life and makes time for all of them. And don't forget, she's also Santa Fe, New Mexico's Bartender of the Year 2019. And she works at the Cowgirls Barbecue in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which, if you listen to the episode, you find out that is pretty much the place to be when you're in San Antonio. She's had a number of famous people go through there because I guess there's a lot of productions that go through there that she gets to meet the actors or actresses. And it sounds like a cool place. But Randy Lynn was a blast to talk to, and I can tell she's just got a great personality, and I'm sure her customers just love the shit out of her. Maybe one of these days I'll make my way out there and meet her myself. But until then, go check, if you live in the Santa Fe, New Mexico area or happen to find yourself there, go find Cowgirls Barbecue in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Ask for Randy Lynn Lambert, and if you happen to have her or as your server or bartender that night, mention Hey Bartender Podcast. There probably won't be any big deal or discounts or anything like that, but just mention that you heard her on my show. She'll probably smile. And if you listen to the podcast, if you have a cute dog, she'll melt for you. It's hilarious. It's like those TikTokers nowadays that keep dubbing over that one sound clip. Can I pet that dog? Can I pet that dog? Yeah, anyway. All right, so before I get to last call, I got one more Instagram shout out to do. This guy has been a very, very strong supporter of Hey Bartender Podcast for a while now. I've talked to him on and off. He's very cool. You know who you are out there. Boogie Lives. You can find him on Facebook. Boogie Lives, at Boogie Lives. That's his Facebook name. He works at the Clockwork Bar in New York City. This guy has jumped up, showed me his appreciation for everything that I've done, given me a few show ideas, and shamelessly begged for a shout out on the show. So, Boogie Lives, here you go. This is the big shout out. And the reason why I'm giving you a shout out is because a couple weeks back, I put a post on Instagram and Facebook. I'm coming up on my 100th episode. What should I do? And a couple people, they suggested that I spend this entire hour singing 100 bottles of beer on the wall. No, I'm not going to do that. And other people were saying, do a drunk show, just get flat out drunk. And then I thought, no, I'm not going to do that either. because it would be either a really short show or a really long show of me snoring. But Boogie threw out a challenge saying, sing a song. And at first I just kind of blew it off, but then I talked to a couple friends and they're like, just do it. And so, all right, Boogie lives at Clockwork Bar in New York City. There's your shameless shout out. And for this week's musical guest, it's a very stripped down version of me, your bartender, the dude, singing a song from the Beatles called Come Together with just me and my guitar because I didn't have time to produce a whole big thing. So I hope you enjoy it. Hey, bear with me on this version. Just decided to try it out. Sounds kind of cool to me. Come on, flat top, he come grooving up slowly. He got juju eyeball, he want holy roller. He got hair down to his knees. Got to be a joker, he just do what it please. Wear no shoe shine, he got toe jam football, he got monkey finger, he shoot Coca-Cola, he say, I know you know me. One thing I can tell you is you got to be free. Come together right now over me. Production, he got walrus gumboot, he got on no sideboard, he want spinal clacker, he got feet down below his knees. Hold you in his armchair, you can feel his disease. Come together right now over me. He got early warning, he got muddy water, he want mojo filter, he say 1 and 1 and 1 is 3. Got to be good looking cause he's so hard to see. Come together right now over me. Yes, people, that was me, your bartender, singing Come Together by the Beatles. That was a dare given to me from, at least the way I considered it, it was a dare given to me by Boogie Lives on Instagram. If you want to go check out his stuff, he's got some cool pictures on Instagram of a lot of stuff that he does. Looks like he has a lot of hobbies and passions out there. You want to go check him out, Boogie Lives on Instagram. But anyway, people, it is last call on the 100th episode of Hey Bartender Podcast. Thank you so much for being with me for this long. I really appreciate it. As it started out as kind of a little project for me to do, just to kill time. And, you know, it was, and then it became more of a passion, and it's a lot of fun, actually. I get to meet a lot of really cool people, and it's just, you know, it's not a huge podcast. I'm no Joe Rogan, but I really, really love all of you guys for hanging out with me in my bar, sort of what I can consider a bar. And hopefully in the next 100 episodes, we got more cool stuff for you. If you want to be on the show, remember, email me, dude@heybartenderpodcast.com. There are tons of people out there that would probably love to hear your bartending stories. If you know any drinks, do the same thing. Email me, dude@heybartenderpodcast.com, to tell me a drink that some of us may not know about, and you will get full props for it. And you know, we'll try to get your name out there. Special thanks to Laura Hope and the Arctones for letting me use their song Hey Bartender for the Hey Bartender podcast theme song for the well, not the whole 100 episodes, but damn near close. Thank you to all of my special guests that have been on my podcast so far. I haven't gotten to all of them to, you know, play clips for everybody, but you know, we're just starting out. So thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Mia. Thank you, Gary and Austin. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, LD. And thank you, Randy Lynn, for taking time out of your days to sit and talk with me a little bit about your bartending or serving life. Also love to thank all of the musicians out there that have allowed me to use your music as something to feature on the show. I hope that's worked out beneficially for both of us. There's a lot of you to name off. You guys know who you are. Majority of the time, I steal the drink recipes off of other people's websites. So whether you know it or not, I've stolen drinks from you. I thank you guys so much for not discovering that I stolen a drink from you and yelling at me about it. That's really cool. Remember, there's a website, heybartenderpodcast.com, where you can catch up on the new shows or catch up with the old shows. Also, help support the podcast by purchasing some Hey Bartender Podcast merchandise. You got t-shirts, we got challenge coins. Yeah, go over there and check it out. www.heybartenderpodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Hey Bartender Podcast, Instagram, Hey Bartender Podcast. I'm on Twitter once in a great while, Hey Bartender PO1. So, we're going to call it a close on this 100th episode of Hey Bartender Podcast. And as usual, I got to stick with something that I've done since the very beginning. I got to wish you all lots of love, lots of sex, lots of happiness, and don't take any shit from anything. Good night.
What do you mean it's last call?